Matt Walsh is incredibly concerned with maintaining social order. Western civilization, it's on the brink of collapse because trans people are starting to be more accepted into society. Still not enough. Definitely too much for Matt Walsh's liking. But you know, the threads that bind Western white civilization together, I mean, they're very thin. And one of the things that are tethering us to United States supremacy is the way that our bathrooms are organized. And this is Matt Walsh's fear about the changes coming to bathroom stalls near you.
Now, I'm also troubled by the prospect that as more women identify as men, our bathrooms will become filled with people who see the bathroom as a social occasion. The next thing you know, you're going to be at the urinal and some post-op, quote, trans man is going to slide up in right next to you, and which will be the first problem, because all men know that you never, ever use the urinal right next to another guy unless there's no other availables. This is man code, but women don't know about man code.
Can you pause it?
Men.
So, why is the trans man the one that's sliding up right next to you? Because they don't know man code.
Also, guys do that. It's annoying. So I don't think all those guys are like, post-op trans men.
But the thing about when I go into
urinal, it's a very simple fix there.
No, when I go into the women's room, we all hold hands while we're peeing.
And you sit next. If there's a stall, you don't leave a gap between the stalls. You go right next to them for communal reasons.
In fact, we kiss and we talk about our feelings
and your
as we go to the bathroom, and then obviously our periods too. But
also.
Yeah,
we hold something else.
Okay, also, this is just like only Republican politicians do that in men's rooms.
Yep. Yeah.
No, but like this is also just like a early like 90s, late 90s like stand-up bit that he's like elongated into like a whole segment where it's just like women in men's bathrooms, they'd be talking too much, fellas, and then you just like everyone laughs and you just move on. But like he's going like real deep into it, like it's a real observation.
No, I'm actually concerned about it.
No, this is real. This is not a joke. This is like a real thing that will really happen, and we'll be all holding hands at the urinal, pee splashing everywhere.
It's such like it doesn't work. Like the thing of like normally it's like trans women will go in and be like actually the entire thing is a ruse to get into the women's restroom, but it doesn't quite work this other way. Like for their own sort of like horrific imaginations, and it's just like I'm not. First of all, like the people who talk to me are like boomers. If I'm in the bathroom and someone starts up a conversation, it's like some old guy, and it's like, bro, I'm not fucking trying to have a conversation with you about whatever.
The only time I've ever had a conversation in the bathroom with another woman is like if we're like doing our makeup at the mirror for an extended period of time. But I don't think that's gonna even be an issue.
My wife does do makeup, so.
I
don't know.
Keep going. Yeah, I mean.
Problem, because all men know that you never ever use the urinal right next to another guy unless there's no other availables. This is man code, but women don't know about man code because they're not men. And then to make matters worse, she's going to try to strike up a conversation like, "Hey there, fellow dude, what do you think of the tile in this bathroom? It feels a little outdated to me." Now, I don't know if that's the kind of thing women talk about in their bathrooms, but I know that it's not the kind of thing we talk about in ours, because we don't talk about anything. It's interesting to observe this dynamic, actually, because when men identify as women, they turn womanhood into an absurd caricature. A man's version of womanhood is excessive, grotesque.
Pause it.
A man...
he just did that. He just did that.
There's nothing funny about men in the bathroom not talking.
Yeah,
when I use the urinal, I salute. I just like salute.
He literally just made a caricature and said that women talk about the interior design of the bathrooms that they're in, while he didn't do his research, doesn't know, but still makes that claim, and then says everyone, this is what happens. Men are going to make caricatures out of womanhood. Thank you for protecting it, Matt.
I've been in a nice bathroom before. I've been like a nice Art Deco or like Rococo bathroom, and like taken like oh, this is nice, crazy. He doesn't go anywhere nice. That's why.
What's so like lobotomizing about this is he's literally doing both. I'm seriously concerned about this, and also this is a stand-up routine. And that is like the most infuriating conservative sort of mode. I mean, I'm sure like the left of center does it too, but like, just own it. Are you being hysterical or are you being funny? But like, you can't really commit to either one of those because it doesn't work for your project.
Actually, because when men identify as women, they turn womanhood into an absurd caricature. A man's version of womanhood is excessive, grotesque. A man will appropriate femininity by obnoxiously exaggerating.
Appropriation police over here.
The womanhood that he constructs will be overwrought and inflated. The best example of this is the drag queen, of course, a ludicrous parody of womanhood.
This is just like bullshit psychoanalysis about like sort of archetypes of people with like, you know, some sort of brain issue, like with the conservative.
I mean, they just continue to not understand what a drag queen is. Like, it's not someone trying to portray a realistic everyday version of what a woman looks like. It's supposed to be over the top.
I don't see drag queens and go, you know, that's like, it's like seeing me. It's like a mirror.
You don't feel like you're being attacked.
I do not. Yeah, it doesn't make me feel like, God, they're more woman than me, and my womanhood is so finite and precious. But that's really what Turks think, honestly.
It's also the collapsing of sex and gender into the same thing, because and this is what makes it super cartoonish, because it's like, you know, once you start talking about men not talking or in the bathroom or whatever, and women like talking in the bathroom, that's like the most performative of gender, the most like ridiculous, most performative of understanding of gender. But he's still pretending like, oh no, that's just inborn into like our genes. Like, even when we were pissing in the jungle, escaping from lions, men were not talking, but women were just gabbing it up. Yep.
It's as natural as like our ecosystem, essentially. Let's listen to like just a small more amount of this, and then we'll call it a day.
Rating it. The womanhood that he constructs will be overwrought and inflated. The best example of this is the drag queen, of course, a ludicrous parody of womanhood, a masquerade. Womanhood made into a kind of preposterous cartoon. Now, on the other hand, as we're beginning to see, when women identify as men, rather than exaggerating masculinity, they instead attempt to feminize it.
What are you talking about?
The woman doesn't want to turn into a man so much as she wants to turn men into her. The man becomes a funhouse mirror version of femininity. The woman wants masculinity to become a funhouse mirror version of herself.
All right, pause it. So this is a trope that I have been trying to kind of hammer home on the show for a while. I was interested in this clip because for the first time in a while, they're focusing on trans men. For the most part, their fear-mongering is centered around trans women because women are inherently inferior in their eyes. How could a biological male want to transition into being a woman? How could they feel like they are a woman inside? Why would they voluntarily subjugate themselves? And also, they can never be a true woman because in our eyes, women are just extensions of ourselves through like their wombs and the child that we put in them. So that's why TERFs are so much bigger and focus on trans women taking away the femininity that is so finite in the world from cis women. That is why that's the crux of transphobia right now. And so you rarely hear this argument. But he can't even help himself but return to that exact same conceit there, which is that even though there are trans men, they're not earnest in their maleness. They're there to indoctrinate you to be feminized, which is inherently weakening. So even when it has to do with the transition to male, it is the exact same underlying misogynistic impulse, which is connected to homophobia as well as transphobia, which is that anything that is feminizing is weakening society, it's weakening America, and it's weakening you, and you should be really afraid of it. And so don't talk in the bathroom if you want to maintain your masculinity, because otherwise, damn, like apparently it's hanging by a thread. and you've got to protect it.
I mean, it's all just like BS psychoanalysis. Even before you get to it's not even very convincing. But the idea that like they hate women, so they think like, oh, why would somebody want to become a woman? It's clearly just to parody women and lampoon them deep down. That's like literally the best that they can do about it.
Well, yeah, but they're also trying to come up with like, they're trying to gussy up their, I think, inherent fear of like finding a trans woman attractive to make it more about like preventing women from being like victimized, like their one identity being like stripped away by like men infiltrating those spaces. And I think that's why they have the sort of opposite thing going on with like, you know, the more classic fear of women being integrated into men's spaces, which is that they'll just feminize them. You know, it's like, it's very psychosexual. You know, Freud is spinning in his grave with the modern right-wing online conservative. But I think it's clear that and this is why when TERFs engage with these sorts of people and believe that they're actually allies in like any sort of real front, they're surprised by how like misogynistic they are. By like, just like, oh yeah, no, they don't just hate like trans women. They think all women are inferior, and their hatred of trans women is just a vehicle for them to exercise that without like coming across as completely unpalatable.
And they perform Go ahead.
I was going to say, I love the Matt Walsh constantly talking about like the stereotypical parodying of a certain gender. Pull up a still from that clip of Matt Walsh.
Exactly.
Exactly.
The perfectly dyed black beard, the plaid lumberjack shirt inside his little his setting scenery that's clearly in a professional studio in the Daily Wire offices, but it's made to look like a wooden cabin that he crafted from his hands.
Oh, you can see Daniel
shelving behind him
right now.
Is that a banjo behind him that he certainly cannot play? I mean,
yeah. I mean, Tucker has that all wood home studio, right? Because paint is for weak ladies.
Which is kind of funny. Like I just say like, I don't think that proximity to a trans man is going to make me less masculine. I'll just be, maybe that's foolhardy of me, but I don't know why these guys are so concerned.
Because they're insecure in their masculinity.
Exactly.
Ultimately, it's, you can see it in the way that they choose to dress and the way that they choose to like surround themselves with things that they don't enjoy, but they feel like they should. Like, does he play the banjo? No way. Like, no way does he play the banjo. No way does he like actually do like traditionally masculine thing. Remember when like Ben Shapiro went to Home Depot for the first time and got a piece of wood? It's like there's
plastic bag too.
Like planks from freaking Ed and Eddie, and like they don't realize that they're slaves to this sort of thing too. Wouldn't he? You would think that he would just prefer to like live his life normal, but this is where he finds value. But it's clearly a prison.
But that's also why they focus on like the fact that they think that they pretend that they're protecting women by opposing trans rights, because that's also an extension of the insecurity around their masculinity, because like they believe that performing masculinity is all about being the guy that's gonna step in and stand up for women. It's why someone like Ben Shapiro commented and found like that video of me talking about Jordan Neely, that they were so triggered by it, because I was a woman essentially saying that I don't need the protection of a homeless person getting murdered in front of me, even if I feel uncomfortable. And that is what caused this like, what right-wing figures to comment on stuff I did on the show.
Yeah, and they were all like this.
Right. Yeah.
Emma, don't you need somebody to come save you?
No, but I mean, that's like...
Oh, that man, I mean, I feel protected if that guy's behind bars.
Are you talking about Tile in the bathroom with me right now?
That guy, for real, he might be like 3 conversations with a trans man away from like, some serious identity crisis.
Wait, is he real? I thought that was like a parody guy. Like,
no, that is Matt Walsh.
That's Matt Walsh.
That is Matt Walsh.
Matt Walsh.
Wow.
Wow.
He does not look the same without the beard.
Yeah.
He looks
They've
like
all had a lot of stuff. Yeah. This was exactly. They've all had a lot of stuff done, I think.
He was
gender affirming,
gender affirming care.
He was like a weak little blogger back in the day. He was that's all he did. He had a blog. He wasn't even doing regular video stuff. And then something happened with his career with Daily Wire, I guess, and it took off. But he was like a little blogger nerd, and one of those early 2010 blogger nerds.
Yeah, he also, talking about age of consent.
Oh, well, you know, that's just, again, you got to get those numbers up in right-wing circles somehow. But no, I think they're also just like, they're legitimately, some of them are afraid because of how like they probably have never fit into what they consider to be traditional and masculine roles. Like, you know, they watch Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. They don't look like that, you know, cough like I do. They don't, you know, they probably don't like sports as much as Emma does. You know, who could? like who could possibly? And so I think there's a little twinge of also be like, well, if women can decide to become men, what if I just backslide and become a woman? Because they think of it like a hierarchy. They don't think of it like gender. They don't think of it like, you know, some sort of like a decision or some like, you know, being born in the wrong body. They think of it like, well, someone's trying to elevate themselves up in the social hierarchy. And what if that means that I might be de-elevated in the social hierarchy by simply becoming like less than a man, aka a woman? You know, what's the joke from Barbie? Like, I'm a man with no power. What does that make me a woman? You know, like that's what they're afraid of. And that's also why they, you know, usually are also very racist, because they don't like the new world where there are black people, you know, black men, black women who have more power than they do, or like visibly more power than they do in society.